Hi, my name is Moisen. I'm using AI voice generator, so this voice won't be as nice as my own. But we have the tool, why not use it? I'm a PhD candidate at University College Dublin, UCD. My focus is on inclusive design praxis towards a set of applied guidelines for unlearning and questioning. In short, I am aiming to plant a seed that hopefully one day it will become a philosophy we all live by. A practice of unlearning and questioning to understand ID as a mindset. I am a 43-year-old bald gentleman, handsome and weird. I leave the definition of handsome to your imagination. But why do I call myself weird? You see, English is my second language, and language plays a great part in our culture and mindset. To me, weird means out of the ordinary, exciting, peculiar, curious, unique, everything that normal is not. By now you probably realize this is not your typical academic PhD presentation. What is inclusive design? Inclusive design, ID, is a philosophy and practice aimed at creating solutions that support the full range of human diversity. It transcends traditional design paradigms, i.e., any design with the one-size-fits-all practice, by emphasizing the importance of considering the individual's needs, abilities, and experiences in the design process. At its core, inclusive design is driven by a process of unlearning and questioning, challenging designers to confront and dismantle their preconceptions and biases. This process involves deep reflection and a willingness to change one's perspective, acknowledging the complexity and diversity of human narratives. Before I dive into my personal experience and understanding of inclusive design as a mindset, how media, religion, education, family, and society have influenced my way of life, I want to give you a short summary of what my PhD is about. I'm proposing that inclusive design is not just a set of standards, it's a mindset that should be practiced in personal and professional life. Through research, literature review, interviews with inclusive design global leaders such as Professor Judah Treviranus, Director of the Inclusive Design Research Center, IDRC, Professor Sambhavi Chandrasekhar, Global Accessibility Lead at D2L, Professor of Inclusive Design, Professor Lisbeth Goodman, Founder and Director of SmartLab, Professor of Inclusive Design and Chair of Creative Technology Innovation, UCD, and Dr. Manisha Amin, CEO of the Centre for Inclusive Design in Australia, plus my personal and professional experience as an inclusive design and lifelong learner. I have argued that inclusive design is a mindset, and the first step in having this mindset is through practicing unlearning and questioning. For today, I'll keep it high level and not dive into all the nitty-gritty of unlearning and questioning process or the framework. And hopefully by the end, you'll be curious enough to want to dig deeper and maybe even check out my full PhD work. My approach to inclusive design insists on viewing it through a personal lens, arguing that the way we understand and process the world around us, our cognitive processing and perception, is incredibly unique and subjective. Drawing from the insights of thinkers like Anil Seth and Donald Huffman, my work places a spotlight on the critical role that personal perspective plays in both understanding and articulating inclusive design. Thomas Nagel's exploration of qualia further reinforces the inherent subjectivity of conscious experiences, highlighting the impossibility of fully grasping another's subjective experiences due to the deeply personal nature of consciousness. Chalmers' discussion of the hard problem of consciousness posits that conscious experience is fundamentally subjective, presenting a significant challenge to the science of the mind in understanding the nature of these experiences. What I'm trying to convey here is what Buddha said: we are all unique, and in uniqueness, we are all alike. Let me give you a few examples. Consider how we perceive the color red. Our eyes, with millions of photoreceptors, catch light reflecting off objects, but not the red light that it's absorbed. Out of 1.5 million receptors in our retina, about 1,500 data points get translated to pulses and sent as signals to our brain. Then our brain uses deductive reasoning to create and imagine what we see or not see. Just as our fingerprints are different, so is our biology: DNA, photoreceptors, taste buds, and etc., meaning we all see slightly differently shade of red. Or someone with color blindness might see it as another color entirely. Even culture and geography influences our perception, like how we envision a turquoise stone's color, which might range from light green to ocean blue. The same is true about the taste of food, like chocolate. The taste, the aroma, the texture, and the imagination, the feeling, the image imagined in our brain is a unique experience. Now, if it's not the first time we are eating a chocolate, the imagination is based on memory and past experience, pleasant or bitter. So packets of information, a collection of chemicals and their interactions with our senses, get translated to electric pulses and transferred to our brain and then interpreted based on accumulated knowledge from the past and present experience to a unique conscious experience. Now let's not talk about dinner and Netflix and how we don't taste the food or our awareness of the delicious food we eat while watching a movie. Let me ask you this. Can you fully explain the taste and experience of chocolate to someone who has never eaten a chocolate? How about emotions and feelings? The same way we need to experience love to understand it before sharing love. We need to experience and understand inclusion from our own point of view. The love we are taught, the love we receive from others, as beautiful as it is another translation and interpretation based on our subjective experience of life and love. Hence, to truly experience love, we need to love ourselves through self-recognition, self-esteem. You probably know this. If not, I'll suggest looking up Adlerian psychology to go deeper into this. When we truly love ourselves, we realize there is no other. The self dissolves. What I do to you, I am doing it to me. Or as Dr. Leroy Little Bear puts it, what you do to the land, to the animals, to the water, you do to yourself. Hence, to realize the sting of exclusion, to understand and to feel the warmth of being welcomed, recognized, loved, and included, one has to experience it from their own point of view. Unlearning and questioning, what I am aiming to convey here, is this. In order to have an inclusive design mindset as part of our day-to-day engagements and relationships, in our research and development, in our designs and policy making, and to make this philosophy part of our culture, part of our collective conscious experience, we need to practice unlearning and questioning as the starting point. Let me share with you a personal example of unlearning and questioning in challenging my own assumptions and biases. Growing up, I was privileged to be able to have traveled abroad and had access to computers, international satellite TV, and the internet at an early age, yet no direct interactions with individuals with disabilities. This absence led me to question, was it possible not to know anyone with a disability? Why were my only encounters with disability mediated through television screens, often portrayed negatively? These questions got me started on rethinking my assumptions. They showed me how, back in Iran and other places I've been, there's often a mindset that overlooks people with disabilities without even realizing it. My professional career into digital art and web design, initially filled with pride for creating user-friendly and visually appealing websites, was nudged by a client's request that showed my ignorance. The request to modify a web page for accessibility reasons made to dig deeper into accessible design and disability rights, challenging my preconceived notions of user-friendliness. This moment was an aha moment in my personal and professional life, encouraging me to question, what defines the norm? Who is truly considered in a user-friendly design? And crucially, if a design is inaccessible, can it still be deemed user-friendly? The client's accessibility request led me to learn more about accessible design. Two parallel paths of unlearning unfolded. One, on a technical side, questioning industry standards and design practices. And second, on the human side of things, the deeply personal side, confronting my misconceptions about disability. I discovered that disability is not solely visible, and that not all disabilities are wheelchair-related or physical. I realized that although I was under the impression that I do not have friends or knew a person with a disability, I had in my immediate circle of family and friends people with disabilities. For example, my uncle had extreme epilepsy, and my cousin was autistic. My father had a disability with a chronic back pain from his lumbar scoliosis. I also had an ear implant by the age 14, still with limited hearing ability on my left ear, similar lumbar scoliosis as my dad, and almost all my peers had PTSD from the childhood traumas from the bombing during Iraq-Iran war. This realization led to further questioning. Why had I never considered these conditions as disabilities? Why were societal shame associated with the label of disability? And why do we as a society imbue disability with negativity and suffering. In short, I had an ableist point of view, combination of a medical model, religious model of disability, and stigmatized culture. A society that had created an environment that was not welcoming, empowering, and supportive of all its citizens. But why? Was I ignorant? Was the society not aware? Many years have passed, and the world has changed, and there is a long way to go. I'm going to read few lines from a poem by Maria Palacios. I first read the following in a book, Ableism: The Causes and Consequences of Disability Prejudice, by Michelle Arnario. Ableism is when parents yank their kids away and tell them not to stare, automatically teaching them that disability is a dirty word. Ableism is when you make plans that do not include accessible venues, accessible spaces, so it becomes easier to erase me from your list. Ableism is a lifetime of isolation, a lifetime of segregation, a lifetime of untold stories of once upon a time there was a cripple who could, and for every cripple that could, there was and is an able-bodied person who should but doesn't. If you haven't read this poem, I have provided a link to the full poem in the reference section. The concept of unlearning and questioning the ingrained beliefs, as I have highlighted them in my Ph.D. through various perspectives, is crucial for cultural transformation, both personally and collectively. If we acknowledge that each individual perceives and experiences the world from their unique vantage point, it becomes vital to exceed binary modes of thinking. We must move beyond categorizing experiences, people, and beliefs. In Zen, the concept of beginner's mind, Suzuki, 1970, urges us to abandon the comfort of labels and boxes, recognizing that every individual's essence transcends our conventional understanding. It invites us to unlearn and question our binary point of view and to embrace a universe of possibilities, where the traditional boundaries of analysis and assumption are dismantled. In the realm of technology, the concepts of coding and decoding resonate deeply with the art of unlearning and questioning, the meticulous deconstruction and reconstruction of complex systems. This analogy mirrors our journey towards self-understanding and growth. It's about peeling back the layers of binary thought patterns, the zeros and ones, the rights and wrongs, and venturing into the vast, unexplored spectrum of human experience. Our brains, sculpted by years of societal encoding, might initially resist this expansive way of thinking. When we encounter identities and beliefs that deviate from our normative constructs, our binary thinking might instinctively push us towards judgment or categorization. However, unlearning and questioning this thought process means transcending these binary classifications and embracing the myriad hues of human existence. It's about recognizing that people's choices and identities are not anomalies to be categorized, but expressions to be celebrated, each adding a unique shade to the diverse spectrum of human experience. When I move, you move. Remember the song Stand Up by Ludacris. Now, in our complex society, we are not just unique individuals going about our lives. We are not distinct parts of nature, the complex system of society. We are the system. We are the nature. Why is this personal shift in mindset important? The process of unlearning and questioning, essential in embracing inclusive design as a mindset, has a profound transformative power. It prompts individuals to shift their personal culture, thereby altering their roles within society's complex system. This individual transformation sets off a cascading effect, leading to systemic change and fostering a more compassionate and equitable society. This transformation extends beyond the individual, influencing the broader system and contributing to a collective shift towards compassion and justice. As Scott Page notes, in systems where entities adapt, there's a heightened capacity to respond to environmental changes, underscoring the dynamic nature of complex systems. The ripple effect of individual change can merge to create waves of transformation, reshaping the societal landscape. Allow me to expand on this. Using Ursula Franklin's definition of system and technology, she views systems as structured practices that mold human relationships and societal frameworks. In this light, Internet of Things (IoT) emerges as a technology system that interlinks digital devices, allowing them to communicate and interact. It's more than a mere network of gadgets. It's a web of influence, shaping our interactions and our very fabric of living. Hence, the Internet of Things (IoT) can be comprehended as a complex technology system that weaves together digital devices and human experiences, influencing and transforming our interactions and the very essence of societal structures, making humans not just the creators of the technology, but as essential parts within the system. In today's digital era, information and communication technologies, ICTs, particularly our smart devices, have become extensions of ourselves, creating what Luciano Floridi describes as on-life, a blend of our online and offline experiences. Floridi, as a leading philosopher in information and computer ethics, examines in The Ethics of Information, 2013, how digital technologies blur the lines between our digital and physical lives, redefining human existence by making ICTs and the Internet of Things, IoT, central to our identities, relations, and perceptions. In my dissertation, I delve deeper into inclusive design from a personal point of view, emphasizing that our perceptions and experiences are unique and subjective. This perspective leads to exploring the term Internet of Humans, IOH. I am using IOH as an umbrella term, encapsulating the interconnectedness of IoT, humans, and society, suggesting that shifts in individual mindsets informed by inclusive design can significantly influence societal structures towards empathy and equity, supported by insights from inclusive design leaders and a reflective analysis of personal narratives. As highlighted by thought leaders such as Treviranus, 2014, Franklin, 1990, Holmes, 2018, Nario Redmond, Rushkoff, 2019, and others, this mindset advocates for a departure from conventional paradigms and biases towards a culture of introspection and openness. It invites individuals to examine and potentially alter prevailing norms in technology, society, ethics, industry practices, and human rights, aiming for a comprehensive reevaluation of their impacts. The essence of adopting an inclusive design mindset lies in engaging deeply in unlearning and questioning, to dismantle ingrained notions and biases, a process deemed essential by the experts for challenging and redefining accepted narratives and practices within technological and societal contexts. What is the framework? First, an ultimate framework is a myth. Building on these topics, in my Ph.D., I am proposing a framework for unlearning and questioning. It is important to highlight that the framework is not a set of step-by-step or checklist approach. However, it is more of a process that can be implemented and tailored depending on the context and from the individual's unique perspective. If I have to group it into 5 categories, it would be 1. Acknowledging diversity. This step involves recognizing the vast spectrum of human diversity and the value it brings to societal development. 2. Challenging conventions. It calls for actively questioning and unlearning societal norms and assumptions that homogenize and diminish diversity. 3. Embracing complexity. This involves accepting and engaging with the inherent complexity and fluidity of societal contexts. 4. Iterative co-design. The framework emphasizes the importance of dynamic, responsive, and iterative co-design processes in addressing complex societal challenges. 5. Commitment to inclusion. A steadfast commitment to inclusion and social justice is advocated, even when it contradicts mainstream perspectives. A full explanation and detailed information on the framework of unlearning and questioning will be available soon, as I do my Viva and publish my Ph.D. next month. Elevating inclusive design to a life philosophy. In essence, my dissertation positions inclusive design as a collection of design principles and praxis as a guiding philosophy for life itself. It advocates for a paradigmatic shift towards perceiving inclusive design as a foundational approach that champions human diversity at its core, done by delving into the transformative potential inherent in the practices of unlearning and questioning. This research illuminates the capacity of individuals to effect a more equitable and empathetic society through the embracement of an inclusive design mindset. Drawing from a systematic literature review, insightful interviews with inclusive design leaders, and a deeply personal narrative, this work interprets the rippling impact of adopting unlearning and questioning as regular practices. It envisions a future where inclusivity is not an afterthought, but a primary consideration, encouraging a societal transformation that wholeheartedly embraces and prioritizes inclusivity at every conceivable level. Through this dissertation, inclusive design emerges as a critical lens, through which we can reimagine our collective approach to design, interaction, and community building, heralding a new era of inclusivity that resonates with every individual's commitment to fostering a more inclusive, empowering, and welcoming world. I hope I have piqued your interest to ponder. What is inclusive design to you? Since we began with language, I'd like to conclude by reading a poem by Saadi Shirazi, a Persian poet. Since AI language models are not yet advanced for reading Persian poems, Moisen will read it and then give you the interpretation rather than a direct translation of it.
بنی آدم اعضای یکدیگرند که در آفرینش ز یک گوهرند. چو عضوی به درد آورد روزگار، دگر عضوها را نماند قرار. تو که از محنت دیگران بیغمی، نشاید که نامت نهند آدمی. Human beings are integral components of a complex and interconnected organism, the completion of consciousness's natural evolution. When one part of this hyper-connected system experiences suffering and disconnect, it inherently affects every other component. A lack of empathy and awareness of this shared suffering indicates a person yet to embrace self-love has not realized the collective unity of this organism. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for being an essential part of the Internet of Humans.